ETL, or electrical testing laboratories, certification adheres to different standards depending on the location. In Germany, ETL certification aligns with IEC, International Electrotechnical Commission, standards. However, in the United States, ETL certification follows UL Underwriters Laboratories standards. A key difference between these standards lies in the requirements for wire insulation marking. UL standards mandate that electrical wires used within appliances bear specific markings. These markings typically include information such as the wire size, voltage rating, and the UL certification logo. This requirement ensures that the wire meets the necessary safety standards for its intended application within the appliance. In contrast, IEC standards do not typically require insulation marking on wires used internally within appliances. Instead, IEC standards often rely on conductor color coding as a primary means of identifying different types of wires. When appliances manufactured to IEC standards, such as those from Germany, are imported into the United States, they must comply with UL standards to ensure their safety and meet regulatory requirements. This compliance includes the requirement for wire insulation marking, even if the original design did not incorporate it. There are several possible reasons why wiring inside German appliances might lack insulation marking. Firstly, oversight by the German manufacturer during the production process is a possibility. They may have simply overlooked the requirement to add insulation marking. Secondly, differing interpretations of IEC standards could play a role. The manufacturer may have interpreted the standards in a way that led them to believe insulation marking was not required, especially if the appliances were initially intended for markets outside the United States. Thirdly, cost-saving measures could be a factor. Omitting insulation marking can potentially reduce production costs, as the marking process adds both time and material expenses. To ensure the safety and compliance of your products, particularly when importing appliances from countries with different standards, it is crucial to adhere to UL standards when selling in the US market. This means that it is necessary to add insulation marking to the wires inside the German appliances before they are shipped to the United States. There are several options for achieving this compliance. One option is retrofitting, which involves manually or mechanically marking the wires after the appliances have already been assembled. This approach requires careful execution to ensure that the markings are clear, durable, and meet UL requirements. Another option is rewiring, where the unmarked wires are replaced with wires that already have the required markings. This option may be more costly but ensures that the wiring fully complies with UL standards from the outset. A third option involves direct communication with the German manufacturer. You can request that they add insulation marking to the wires during production to meet UL requirements. This proactive approach ensures that all future shipments will be compliant. Regardless of the method chosen, it is essential to verify that the insulation marking meets all UL requirements and that the marked wires are properly installed and meet the intended safety specifications for the appliance. This verification often involves testing and certification by a recognized testing laboratory to confirm compliance. Wire markings typically indicate the American wire gauge size, which is a standard for wire diameter. Common sizes include 18 American wire gauge, 16 American wire gauge, 14 American wire gauge, and 12 American wire gauge, among others. The marking also specifies the insulation type. Common insulation types are thermoplastic high heat resistant nylon coated, thermoplastic heat resistant nylon coated, or cross-linked polyethylene. The voltage rating, often 300 volts or 600 volts, is another critical marking. It indicates the maximum voltage the wire can safely handle. The UL listing mark is essential, showing that the wire has been tested and certified by underwriters' laboratories. Additional markings may include temperature ratings, such as 90 degrees Celsius or 105 degrees Celsius, indicating the maximum operating temperature. Color coding is also part of the wire identification system, though it is more critical in IEC standards where insulation marking is less emphasized. In the US, the National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides guidelines on proper wire usage. For instance, IEC Section 310.15 and its associated tables detail the ampacity or current carrying capacity of conductors based on their size, insulation type, and installation conditions. When retrofitting, ensure the marking method is durable and legible. Options include using a wire marking machine, which can imprint the necessary information directly onto the wire insulation. Alternatively, adhesive labels specifically designed for wire marking can be used, provided they are resistant to heat, moisture, and abrasion. When rewiring, select wires that meet or exceed the original specifications of the appliance. Pay close attention to the temperature rating of the wire, especially in appliances that generate significant heat. Ensure that the replacement wires are properly secured and connected to prevent loose connections or shorts. When communicating with the German manufacturer, provide clear and specific instructions regarding the required wire markings. Include samples of acceptable wire markings to avoid any misunderstandings. It is also helpful to provide a copy of the relevant UL standards to the manufacturer for their reference. Consider establishing a quality control process to inspect incoming shipments of appliances to ensure compliance with UL standards. This process should include a visual inspection of the wiring to verify the presence and accuracy of the required markings. Regular audits of your manufacturing processes can also help identify and address any potential compliance issues. Ensure that your employees are properly trained on UL standards and the importance of wire insulation marking. Training should cover the identification of different wire types, the interpretation of wire markings, and the proper installation techniques. Maintaining detailed records of all wire certifications and compliance activities is crucial. These records should include copies of UL certificates, test reports, and any correspondence with the German manufacturer. These records can be invaluable in demonstrating compliance to regulatory authorities or during audits. Understanding the specific requirements of UL standards is essential for ensuring compliance. The UL website provides access to a wealth of information, including standards documents, technical bulletins, and training materials. Subscribing to UL notification service can keep you informed of any updates or changes to the standards. When dealing with electrical appliances, safety is paramount. Non-compliance with UL standards can lead to serious consequences, including electrical shocks, fires, and equipment damage. Therefore, it is crucial to take all necessary steps to ensure that your products meet the required safety standards. Always use appropriately rated tools when working with electrical wiring. Ensure that tools are in good condition and properly insulated to prevent electrical shocks. Never work on electrical wiring while the appliance is energized. Always disconnect the power supply before performing any repairs or modifications. Be aware of the potential hazards associated with working with electricity and take appropriate precautions. Use personal protective equipment such as safety glasses and insulated gloves to minimize the risk of injury. If you are unsure about any aspect of electrical wiring or UL standards, seek guidance from a qualified electrician or electrical engineer. They can provide expert advice and assistance in ensuring compliance and safety. Periodically review your compliance processes to ensure that they remain effective. As UL standards are updated and manufacturing practices evolve, it is important to adapt your processes accordingly. Stay informed of industry best practices and incorporate them into your operations. When sourcing electrical components such as wires and connectors from suppliers, ensure that they are certified to UL standards. Request copies of their UL certificates and verify their authenticity. Conduct regular audits of your suppliers to ensure that they maintain compliance with UL standards. Establish a clear chain of responsibility for ensuring compliance with UL standards within your organization. This chain should include individuals responsible for sourcing materials, manufacturing, quality control, and regulatory compliance. Foster a culture of safety and compliance within your organization. Emphasize the importance of following UL standards and encourage employees to report any potential safety hazards. By taking these steps, you can ensure that your German appliances meet UL standards for wire insulation marking and are safe for use in the United States. Remember that compliance is an ongoing process that requires diligence, attention to detail, and a commitment to safety.